I worked in design at a marketing firm. I was let go a couple of years later. And I realized that I did not want to work in a cubicle anymore. And when I was at this point, I'd kind of burned through my savings and everything else, but I knew I could not work for somebody else. I don't know if it was ego or insecurity or what, but I told myself, I'm going to give this last shot at a business for myself, because there's no way I could just be a failed person and just live here. It just wouldn't work, right?
Are you married?
Never been married, no children.
Is that a regret?
You know, I was a little bit arrogant, a little bit cocky, and kind of neglected those relationships because I thought I could do better elsewhere. That's one of the biggest regrets as a kid, is just like saying, wow, I could have maybe been married at this point.
Yeah, like one of those people could have been your wife.
Sure. No, 100%, yeah. And that was all my fault. So yeah, I was thinking about that and I go, you big dummy. So
in this video, I'll be asking a 54-year-old about his biggest regrets in life and his best piece of advice for someone of your age. Now on our channel, you will see a lot of high-profile guests, but this guest comes by popular demand because he is as low profile as you can possibly find. Carlos runs a small business out of his home in Nevada. He initially started this business when he was in his late 40s after being laid off from a corporate job he worked in for multiple decades. His advice and his lessons are honest, but most importantly, extremely relatable. So without further ado, let's jump into it. How old are you?
I'm 54.
What does it feel like to be 54?
Not a whole lot different than it did when I was 21, thank goodness. I have my health and my vitality. I think, you know, my parents were always kind of young at heart, and I kind of took that from them, as well as staying active. And I still go out, have a good group of friends, you know, wonderful relationship. It feels pretty much like the same life, except with a lot more success.
What do you think people in their 20s don't understand about being in your 50s, now that you've been in both decades?
I think that they think it is such an old place to be, and that they won't cherish that age as much as they cherish their youth. And I think it's the opposite. You cherish it even more when you get, you know, to those older years. And I'm sure I'll cherish it even more when I'm in my 70s. So I think that's something they should all know.
Yeah. What have you done in your life to get to this point and feel the way you feel?
I think everything is a mindset. So don't fall into the trap that getting older means degrading or getting weaker or getting, you know, less sharp mentally. I think if you keep that mindset, you'll just go wherever your mind takes you.
Yeah. Are you just saying that because it's on the shirt, or?
There you go. See, it was a subliminal message that I didn't even get. It's working right there, guys. That's perfect.
I was wondering, yeah, you said it a few times. Like, okay.
Yeah, it's working. Good.
Where do you think people go wrong just between 20s and where you're at right now?
You know, I've never really thought about that, but I think they just get caught up in the day-to-day kind of what they think life is all about. So they work their job, they think that's all that is. Maybe they don't exercise, they think it's just go home, rest. I think the way they eat, they don't see a potential for themselves other than the kind of daily grind that they do. And I think once you see that better potential for yourself, whether it's in your personal relationships, your health, your vitality, your exercise, you can kind of go wrong and kind of get into that trap. And that's where I think the aging goes wrong.
What is one thing that when you were younger, you worried about a lot, you put a lot of importance on, and then as you got older, you realized wasn't worth worrying about?
I mean, for me personally, it was everything. It was mostly outward stuff, right?
Yeah.
It was, you know, my face, whether I had acne, whether I had, you know, a bump on my nose, you know, whether I was shorter than other guys. And thinking of these things that were so, you know, made me so insecure as a kid that, and especially now you see teens getting all sorts of, you know, surgery, enhancements and things like this. And as you get older, you realize that all your character and all the love that you feel and that self-esteem, you know, comes from within and not from without. So I would say, you know, love yourself for who you are, do the best you can, of course, be healthy, get in shape, you know, do all the good things to make yourself the best version of yourself you can be, but never beat yourself up or think that you're less than just because of how you are outwardly. Because kids today with so much social media and so much pressure from the outside of being judged, you know, physically and being bullied and all these things, that I think that if you don't have that from the home and your parents, you know, instilling that within you, I think you're at a disadvantage. So definitely a parenting thing, 100%.
What do you do for a living? How do you describe that?
So I have a Latino streetwear brand that I started in 2019 after deciding that I didn't want to work for somebody else anymore.
So before that, you said you were working in marketing, like up until 2019, that's what you were doing?
I worked in design at a marketing firm.
Got it. Yeah.
That did Google marketing. I was let go a couple of years later. And I realized I had to reboot and that I did not want to work in a cubicle anymore and needed something with some passion. So that's why I pursued the streetwear.
Do you think if you didn't get let go, that you would still be at this job? Let's say COVID didn't happen. Let's say you didn't get let go. Do you think you'd still be there?
I do. And it's scary sometimes to think that that could have still been my path had things gone right, for me. And so while I sometimes believe everything happens for a reason, I think I could have and should have also, even if things were going well, to kind of made that decision. But I was just comfortable enough, with getting a paycheck that was good and having enough to, kind of be happy in that way, that, I put it on the back burner, like you said. And it's one of those things that that's also part of that trap. It's just good enough. You don't have enough pain to really move forward. And so, yeah.
But I have so many friends that have jobs right now that they don't like, but they don't love. And they're sort of like you were,
Right.
Job's good enough that it pays well, you're comfortable on some good days, maybe you have people there that you like, but overall you're not happy. This is not what you would ideally like to be doing.
Right.
And now that you're out of it, how do you sort of look back on that for someone who might be going through the same phase?
I think that's always a tragic thing when you don't hit that threshold where things are just horrible enough that you have to get out. And that happens in personal relationships, romantic partnerships. And I think it's one of those things that unless you really take the time to sit down and say, I am not fulfilled in this career path, in this personal relationship, in this business relationship, that you will continue on that path until you hit that threshold. So I think for anybody that kind of feels middle of the road in any of those scenarios, that to sit down and say, I'm really not feeling 100% about this, and then make the decision to do something else.
Yeah. So you're 48, right? 47, 48, 49, somewhere between there.
Right.
You started this business. And how scary was that? Did you have a family at the time?
No, it was just me. And I had started some other businesses that I kind of dabbled in.
Yeah.
And the minute I didn't see immediate success, I would kind of abandon ship and say, this is not a good idea. I'm going to jump to something else. And when I was at this point, I'd kind of burned through my savings and everything else, but I knew I could not work for somebody else. I don't know if it was ego or insecurity or what, but I told myself, I'm going to give this last shot at a business for myself. And if it doesn't work, I'll go to Ethiopia, I'll dig wells, I'll help people, I'll be meaningful in some way in this earth, because there's no way I could just be a failed person and just live here. It just wouldn't work, right? And so I said, and that's my commitment to myself. And that way I can say I left everything on the field and it was done and I did my absolute best and I didn't jump ship too early. And so it was just that. It was saying there was no other option. I think once you cut off all the other options, you have a lot more power. Yeah. But yeah, it was only me. So it was easier to risk than having a whole family and children and everything like that.
So how does the business work if you were to describe it to someone who doesn't know anything about it?
So it's a fairly straightforward model. It's print on demand, which means I design products that are available through the marketplace, in this case, Printify, and create the designs there, upload them to my store. They go there, I mark them up from the price that I pay to Printify. When a customer orders them, Printify fulfills the order, I get charged at that point for the order, and then I keep the difference. So the great thing about that is that I don't have to carry inventory. When you start the business, you barely need any money to start, and it kind of like, takes care of itself. Somebody orders, you get that money, they get paid their half, and then you just keep going. So it's a really straightforward, really good model and low risk. And that's what I loved about it. We started out, we did $675,000 our first year in business, which is really, really fortunate. And so I had a lot to learn about running ads and doing all that type of stuff. But the point was, when the money wasn't there in the first couple of months, I knew that I still wanted to do it. So you still had that passion, that drive to push forward.
The sponsor of our video today is Printify. As Carlos said, Printify is a print-on-demand platform that helps you create t-shirts, mugs, clothing, and many other accessories while not having to deal with the overhead and storage costs. We first discovered it many years ago when we were making a small batch of our It's a Mindset t-shirts, as well as our very own piece of art. But as Carlos is sharing right now, Printify has all of the resources and capabilities to help you start a side hustle or even a business that helps you live an amazing life. Use the discount code SPROUT15 for 15% off your first order. Are you married?
No, not married. No.
Have you ever been?
Never been married, no children.
Is that a regret? Have you ever thought about marriage or children?
No, not really. It's not something I regret. I'm one of those, happy people that doesn't lament not having a girlfriend at Christmas time and I was, oh my God, what am I gonna do?
Yeah.
I date and so I enjoy my life. I enjoy my friends. I enjoy my family. And so, yeah, no, I'm happy kind of no matter what. I'll probably be one of those 70-year-old people, taking a Tai Chi class or something, just happy being single, I suppose.
As someone who is single, who hasn't been married, what do you notice that people might be getting wrong about marriage or relationships, essentially who they choose to spend their life with?
I think when it comes to marriage, I think most people get it wrong because they think, okay, I love this person. It's the happiest day of my life. I'm going to get married, but they don't really consider kind of the implications of that. And the reality is at the end of the day, everybody thinks, well, if it doesn't work out, I can get divorced. When I was a kid, both my grandparents on my mom's side, my dad's side, they stayed together till, they had all passed away because they really believed in that till death do you part. Yeah. And they were miserable for many years. But they believed in that. So I think unless you have that mindset where, yes, we're going to stick this out. And if you think, oh, well, if it doesn't work out, we can get divorced or whatever else, then you shouldn't really be getting married in the first place.
Yeah.
Right? So I think, choosing that partner that brings out the best in you and that you bring out the best in them is really an important thing. And then deciding if you really want a lifelong commitment or you're just getting married because you're happy in this moment.
Yeah. Were your parents married? Did they continue?
My parents were married. No, they divorced when I was 20 years old.
Okay.
So I got to see that firsthand.
Yeah.
And so, it's one of those things that was hard.
Do you think all those experiences shaped the decision that you chose to make / not to make?
Certainly, that impacted, the reality of what marriage could be or not be.
Yeah. What would you advise someone who is younger about dating, proper etiquette, or any tip that comes to mind?
I think if you're a guy, especially, is to always be a gentleman and to really consider it an honor when a girl says she'll go out with you and to treat her with that respect, open the doors, all that good stuff, pay for the date. And don't just take it for granted, the whole Netflix and chill type of thing. I think so many guys don't put that much effort into dating anymore, especially the younger guys.
Yeah.
I saw a guy at a really nice restaurant that I like to go to that couldn't have been more than 16 or 17, and he took his date to this restaurant that I was at. And I was so impressed with this young man that would take the effort to get dressed up, take this girl out on this date. And I'm like, that's how all the young kids should be. So, yeah.
I love that. What is a mistake that you made or a regret that you have? Might not be a regret still, but maybe it was for a period of your life that taught you a valuable lesson.
Wow, there's so many to choose from. I think it was kind of in dating when I was younger, because I kind of went from being kind of a nerdy, geeky kid and kind of getting, a little bit better into shape and things like this. And dating some girls that were wonderful girls, and the minute I felt I was better than I thought I used to be, I was a little bit arrogant, a little bit cocky, and kind of neglected those relationships because I thought I could do better elsewhere. And I think that's one of the things that happens with kids and adults that are insecure that manifests in so many different ways, And I think that's one of the biggest regrets as a kid, is just like saying, wow, I could have maybe been married at this point. Not that I regret that now. Like I said, I'm very happy. But at the time thinking, wow, why did I think that I could be better outside of this?
Yeah.
And bounce around. So yeah, that's definitely one.
Yeah, like one of those people could have been your wife.
Sure. No, 100%. Yeah. And that was all my fault. So yeah, I was thinking about that and I go, you big dummy. So that's it.
What's a core principle that you follow as an entrepreneur that maybe you could share with people?
I think the biggest thing is when you have an idea that you believe in is to take action immediately. And no matter how scary you think it is, if you think you have that idea and you have the passion behind it, is to go and then continuously take action on that. Don't procrastinate, because it's almost impossible to outwin anybody who's going to work very hard, whether you have more talent than somebody else, whether you have more innate skill or connections or financing or whatever else. It's really hard to beat someone that's got that drive, that is willing to work harder than anybody else. So take that dream, that idea, start actually taking action on it immediately, and then don't stop.
Yeah.
That would be it.
I think the idea of entrepreneurship is very glamorized and glorified, but obviously, as we both know, there's a lot of stuff behind the scenes that is not either of those things. Who do you think should be an entrepreneur? Who do you think should be an employee? Because I think you got to have both. Both are very important.
If you're the type of person that really doesn't like risk, it makes you uncomfortable, and you're constantly second guessing yourself and you don't have that belief in yourself, you probably should not try it, because it's not for the squeamish. There's a lot of ups and downs, and there's a lot of pushing through, that if you don't have that belief in yourself, you're going to have a miserable time. And even when you do have that belief in yourself, it still can be kind of lonely and miserable at times. So definitely for the people that have a lot of confidence in whatever the idea is, I say 100% pursue it, because you can have the fear of losing money, you can have the fear, but if you don't have that confidence in yourself, and you're always looking that, oh, I'm going to give up my job, my security, those things, if you have more nagging feelings than positive feelings, then I would say you're probably better off in a career that, you choose.
Yeah. Or there's also lots of jobs that you would just love, right? That aren't necessarily
You can
your
be
own
happy working in a job. You could be happy working in a nonprofit. You could be happy working in a bakery, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's an amazing thing to be happy doing what you do.
Yeah, I think people just need to take a bit more time to actually think about what it is they want, what it is would make them happy.
100%, I agree.
Do you ever journal? Like when you filled out this journal before the interview, was it normal?
Never have, and I've always thought it was a great idea.
Yeah.
And I've seen it come up so many times in my life about journaling. So I think this is going to be an inspiration to me. Yes, that's the prompt. When you put pen to paper, it makes things very real, more so than just, of course, thinking about them. And so doing this was really great, because you freeze for a second, you're like, wow, what do I want to say here? Yeah. And it puts more thoughtfulness, I think, into what you're thinking. So I really enjoyed it.
You wrote here at the end, one piece of advice.
Right.
Do you mind reading what you wrote and sharing why that's what you wrote?
So this is kind of what I was talking about before, that says, always start the thing that you want to do. Persist. Regret is a terrible thing. And I think the last thing anybody wants to do is, at the end of their life, sitting on their porch in their rocking chair, being 80 years old or however old you are, saying, I wish I would have written that book, or I wish I would have asked that girl out, or I wish, I would have been kinder to my parents. And I think regret is such a horrible thing. But whether it's business, whether it's in personal relationships, is really to just do it. But especially in business, do it and then persist on that, because regret is just horrible. It's not something that I want to deal with at the end of my life. And hopefully, none of your viewers either.
Wise words. You better listen.
That's it.
Listen to what he has to say. Did you hear that last piece of advice? If you enjoyed this video and the advice that was shared, number one thing you can do, take action on it. Self-reflect. Think about who you want to be. Think about what you want out of life. And the best way to do that is with journals. We created a series of guided journals like this one that are based on all the advice we've gathered from all the interviews that we've ever conducted. They are fully designed and optimized to help you figure out what a great life looks like to you. If you're interested in starting your own business or side hustle, make sure to check out Printify and click the link in our description. Thanks again for watching the video. As always, it's a mindset. See you in the next one.